Hi, it's Delia. Thanks for clicking on. So today is the 1st of April, and things are evolving as they are. One of the things that I've noticed a lot in my own space and my own energy is waves. So there will be waves where I get really angry, and there are waves when I'm crying, like at a Hallmark commercial or something. So there's just a tremendous amount. There's a couple of different things that are happening. One is with the virus, there's a lot of uncertainty and very few grown-ups in the positions where they're supposed to be. And this is disturbing for everybody. And there is a pandemic, and nobody's ever lived through a pandemic before. So there's a lot of projected anxiety. And with the uncertainty and with the ways that we have our norms over the past blank years, as a collective, as a group, we have gotten really, really good at projecting catastrophe and complete escapism, the two ends. And so I know people who they use the word optimist like it was a bad word, because to them, an optimist is somebody who has hope, which is useless and stupid, and escapism. And they don't see hope as the way to encourage yourself to go on even when you are not feeling so great. Really different interpretations of the words. And in all of the movies and all of the literature, I mean, the whole collective media, both the stuff that's being made and the stuff that we're buying, right? TV shows and all that are exploring, they have been exploring depression and anxiety and murder and killing and lying and cheating and stealing and how to get away with lying and cheating and stealing. And this is both in the comedies as well as in the dramas. And then what we've done with horror is just horrific. So the thing that is none of that is touching really is, how do you build the muscles of how do you build community and how do you get along with people? And the prevailing belief has been that your neighbor is likely to kill you. Maybe they're a spy, like in the Americans, or maybe they're a psychopath like Dexter. So there's just layers and layers and layers of mistrust and distrust and abuse of trust and betrayal of trust that's just been happening kind of on every layer all over the place. And I'm only pointing this out to validate for your body what you've already experienced. And now is a time when that can appear to be not only justified, but the adult response. But I tell you, it doesn't create anything. We've overdeveloped the muscle of deconstruction and destruction. And we've gotten really the whole muscle of how to create and what do you want to create for has been neglected. So everywhere that your imagination is really well developed in the catastrophic. Yeah. And everywhere that's tiring you out. Would you like to change that? Yeah. Yeah. So do you notice the difference between escapism and positive. I mean, even positive thinking has got this horrible overlay to it. It's not only discredited, but it's like stupid. And the thing of it is that what we think and our choices are what generates the future. So, what kind of a future do you want to build? If you haven't seen the movie Tomorrowland, I really recommend you watch the movie Tomorrowland. It's got George Clooney, so that's always fun. And it's a great story. And it's very useful for right now. It's a mix of some kind of fantasy and sci-fi or other stuff like that. But it's actually like an allegory. It's like a parable for modern times. And in it, there's a young girl who just knows how to do stuff. And so she does. And so it breaks in the story, in the movie, there's like a machine. But that idea of what can we create? What do you want to do next? What do you want to build? Kind of chafes against the programming or the story that there's nothing to build for. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is that I've in the first week, I felt like I was resigned. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to get the virus and die because I'm in one of the top categories to get it. And then the next week, I was like, wait a minute, I'm planning to get this thing. I don't see a future. I'm planning to be one of the ones. And there's even just a slight chance that I might not get it or that I would survive it. And so I know that these are not my ideas. I know what they get in on. I know what they resonate to from my childhood. But I also have tools that I use to help me snap out of, because I've been gaslighted before many times in my life, I'm sorry to say. So I recognize it when it's happening since 2016. And whenever you look forward, when you look down the road, that kind of forward, right now, you may notice this, that when you look down the road, you may notice just kind of like a white fuzz or a dark fuzz or just a blank or black. So just notice right now what happens when you look to, April the 1st, 2022. You see anything? Is there anything there? I mean, the first week or two, all I kept seeing was zombie apocalypse. And it's kind of changed now to post-apocalypse. And these are all movies I don't watch, by the way. But I'm very visual and connected to energy. And I've been reading and doing psychic readings for eons. So I see the pictures. And they're the kind of things you see on the TV programs. They're the kind of things you see on HBO. The zombie thing with the skin peeling off, or horrific pictures. And right now, people are watching Outbreak and these shows about pandemics. It's really nutty. And I understand that it can kind of make your body feel better because the storyline, usually this is nonverbal, but the storyline, the energy of the story kind of matches the energy that you're experiencing in your body. And so it gives your body a visual loop that says, okay, this thing that I'm watching outside of my head is matching what's happening inside me. And so now what's happening inside me makes more sense because I just watched this movie, if you can follow that. But a lot of discomfort that's happening inside you doesn't even belong to you, and it's being projected at you. Um, there's the there's the place where we have fear. Our body personality is going to be afraid of what it doesn't understand. And that's kind of the common story. But another thing that's happening right now, because we're going through a pandemic, nobody's current body knows how to frame, what the frame of reference is, hence going to the movies or the stories or the Stephen King novels that give you a frame of reference. But on another way to talk about it is that our bodies are remembering other lifetimes, other plagues. Some bodies are remembering the 1917 plague, the influenza. Some bodies are remembering the bubonic plague, or the plagues in different parts of the world at different times. So just like we all have a biological heritage, grandparents, great-grandparents, and all of the things that they experience have a genetic thread into our cells and our anatomy. For instance, the egg that you were in that became the egg that became you from your mother's womb was formed and established in her body when she was a 4-month-old embryo in her mother's body. So you spent 5 months inside your grandmother's womb. Science. I read a piece about. I read scientific journals. I don't remember where I find these things, but I do, and I've checked that they're real. They're not alien sites. A boy who was 11 in the Depression and went hungry a lot because there was a lack of food. His physiology would be changed, his bones, the way his body operated, his body chemistry would be changed by that period of malnourishment. And that genetic tracing would show up in his son and his son's son. So when you think about it, the idea that a body is a blob and a baby is a blank slate, and it just has, it's just made out of plastic parts that have no traces of anybody else except the G, the X and the Y, the chromosome. It's a crazy notion, but it's the notion we all have. Even if the words are different, that's kind of the way it's the way it's carried out. And none of it's true. Babies come in to the world with lots of information and with lots of personality, even though they don't speak the language that the rest of us do. And so it's kind of hubris to think that we're filling them with knowledge when actually we're just training them to be like the rest of us. What's the point of all of this? The point of all of this is that there's a whole lot going on that you can't figure out. It's not productive to decide who's right and who's wrong. It is productive to decide what you can and can't do to contribute and make the most of the situation. I mean, when's the last time you saw somebody in a TV show, especially a really well-written one, like The Good Wife or that one with Kevin Spacey that everybody loved, where you heard somebody in a good character making the most of a situation as opposed to taking advantage of a situation, right? So, at the cost of other people. So, play with the idea of what do you want to create? What do you, how do you want your life to be? So, everything on the television is going to be, they're all yammer jammering about the elections or this or that or the other. And riddled in there is some veins of truth. But unless you work in the government, in which case the television is not your source of information, it's not an accurate. If you're working in the government, then you have something to do. And listening to the TV is not it. And if you're working in the medical profession, you have lots of things to do, and the TV is not it. And if you're not in one of those kinds of professions, in your home, and you're used to using the TV and Netflix and all that jazz as your escape from your regular work life, or as an alternative to what you normally do, and maybe it's become your main thing to do. There is a great sense of accomplishment in finishing a series. I am here to tell you. But we're kind of getting to the point where, we're kind of breaking out of the initial holding your breath. And now what are we going to do, right? So we're in this for some period of time. It appears to be months or weeks. Well, whatever. Not tomorrow, not Easter. So what do you want to do with your time, right? If you notice that you're getting really tired, or you're weepy, or you're angry, or you're having these huge emotions, it's normal. I mean, it's appropriate to the terrain. This is an uncharted territory. This is the entire world is in a panic. So you want to be kind to yourself. Touch is one of body's first vocabulary. So be kind to you. And then what do you want to create? So let's say you want a world with more kindness in it. People are dreaming up all kinds of ways to spend more kindness in the world on Facebook, or people writing things in chalk on the sidewalk, or putting bears in windows so kids can have a little, game, whatever. You can dream up all kinds of things, and you can look for things on YouTube and on Facebook, and you can find all sorts of stuff that you can do. The thing of it is that when you're making something, when you're creating something, you're engaged with life, because life has not stopped. For even people who are sick, I have a Facebook friend who has been sick, and I'm not really clear if she's got the COVID, but she's sick and she's quarantined in her bedroom. And after a period of time, she was, writing on Facebook about how she was bored. So everybody was sending her, dirty limericks and stuff, which she loved. But even a sick person has a pulse and an interest. I mean, there's a time when you're so sick that you don't have that. But there are other kinds of, that's not the only story, not the only thing that's happening. And meanwhile, life is happening. So instead of wasting time or even filling time, what do you want to do with your time? What do you want to create with your time? And what would be interesting to you? Somebody was talking about taking up crochet, starting crochet. A lot of people have been really excited about all these free downloads now of line drawings of classical art so they could color. And my mother's suggestion was always, instead of using a coloring book, what do you want to draw? But I can't draw. Well, draw anyway. The more you do it, the more something will develop. So just notice what you feel like is possible for you. And notice whenever you see that kind of blank screen out in the front of you, like what do you see for you? What do you want to be doing in 6 months? What do you want to be doing in a year? What do you want to be doing in 2 years? And if you stop because you don't know what's going to happen between now and then, I want you to be kind to yourself and say, well, what would I like in this moment? What would I like? What would be joyful? What would be fun? What would I enjoy? And, having the bills paid and having a job so you can pay the bills, boring things like that don't wash. You need to have something that really does excite you. You need to be telling yourself the truth about how do you want your life to be. And then once you have a sense of it, even if you don't have words for it, but once you have a sense of how you want your life to be in 6 months or 9 months or a year or whatever, then really feel the energy of it. Let it resonate through your whole body. And then check in with it every day. Check in with that energy again. And have your question be, okay, so universe, show me what can I do today that brings that into the world. And you can start to bring the energy to you. The thing is, there's a British explorer who wrote a thing about how once you commit, the forces of the universe can start to rearrange everything and bring you the resources that you're going to need to do whatever it is that you've committed to. His expedition, I think, went to one of the poles, and they needed, they needed ships and ropes and hooks and things to deal with ice and snow and, expedition kind of things, right? And just a hell of a lot of funding, right? And so he came up with this desire to do this, and he had that moment where he really committed to it. I don't know how, I only know that. And it's, it has you can feel it when you're really doing it, and it has like a charge to it. And after that, then the doors start to open, and he got the funding and the ships and the people and the this and the other. And it is true, whether it's a big thing that involves a whole lot of people like that, or something smaller, something that's more, you oriented, or something that you're going to do. Whatever it is, the universe actually wants you to have whatever it is that you want. The society has a different story that says that you can't, or that you're not allowed, or it doesn't matter what you want. There's a lot of stories. But the world, which is the planet, it's not the people. It's the planet and the life force and the animals and the birds and the bees and the trees and all of nature and the universe and the cosmos and everything. The world wants you to have what you came here to do, because the world knows that you're an infinite being with a body. It's just society that's forgotten. It's society that has amnesia. And this is a wake-up call. You can come out of the amnesia. You can cultivate, and you can inspire, and you can bring into being, the Gandhi thing, be the change you want to be the energy that you want to be in the world, be the energy you want to see in the world. And the more you're doing that, the more your people are going to be able to find you. Like John Lennon's Imagine. There's a lot of us. But if he hadn't written the song, we wouldn't have had a focal point, right? So whatever your vision is, the more you vibe at it, the more you speak of it, the more you be it in the world, the more the other people that have the same vision can find you. And the more the universe can rearrange everything so that you can have the resources, time, community, people, stuff that you require to bring that into the world more. Okay. I can't wait to see what you're going to bring into the world. Thanks for listening.